everybody. Welcome. My name's Adrian Ely. I'm a senior lecturer over at SPRU, the Science Policy Research Unit, and also a member of the STEP Centre. And it's my pleasure to welcome you here for this STEP Centre seminar with Anabel Marin, all the way from Argentina. The STEP Centre, if you don't know, also is involved in a Pathways to Sustainability Global Consortium. And with Anabel, I have for the last 3 or 4 years been co-leading a network which we call the Transformative Knowledge Network. And as part of that, in all of the 6 hubs that are involved, we've been undertaking research, engaging with partners, and also, as well as trying to intervene, as well as trying to understand processes of transformation to sustainability, also intervene in them. And I'm delighted to have Anabel here because they've been doing some fantastic research on seeds in Argentina, and also in a very practical way, intervening in the system, experimenting through this Bioleft open source seeds platform. So I'll hand over to Anabel for half an hour or so, then we'll have questions, time for comments. If some people need to leave at 2, they can. If you would like to stick around for another half an hour, there's time for a bit more discussion. Lastly, we are videoing this, and so if you have any problem with being included in the video, including the question and answer, let Becky know. Right,
okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Adrian. Well, thank you, Adrian, for organizing the seminar, to the STEP people also for organizing the seminar, to everybody to be here. Thank you very much. I'm a bit nervous because a lot of friends and old friends here and people that I have known for a long time. I apologize in advance for my English. I hope I can explain well the project. My English is getting poorer and poorer since I went back to Argentina 10 years ago, but I will do my best. Well, I will tell you about Bioleft, which is a project that we developed to address some of the big challenges that the seed industry is facing now, related to the process of privatization, appropriation by IPR, and concentration in Argentina. We started there, but obviously it's a world-scale problem. This started as a project within a broader project that I will explain a bit in the next slide, but it's not now becoming a reality. It's not anymore a project. It is still in the very beginning, but it's very ambitious, and we hope it will have a big impact. I'm talking here, but this is the result of the work of a relatively large group of people. We are truly transdisciplinary. We are working agronomists, lawyers. I'm actually the only economist in the group. People from environmental sciences, artists, and we have most recently managed to include and involve in the group breeders and farmers. That was the most difficult part at the beginning. So really we are a lot of people working in the project. And also, let me try this. No, it's not working. Stuck? Ah, okay. And so, as I say, this Bioleft is not an isolated project. It's a part of a larger project that I'm coordinated with Adrian, but actually we are a lot of partners. This global project responded to a call from the International Social Science Council, and in responding to this call, we proposed to address key sustainability issues or problems around the world. Here are all the hubs that are working in different parts of the world within this project. And what we proposed there was not just to study these sustainability problems, but to address them and propose strategies to address them, and working with local stakeholders that were already involved and working with this problem. So that's what is particular and specific, and I'm very interested about this project, but also challenging. So in Argentina, and paired with the UK and with Adrian, we work on the agro-food system, and most specifically on seeds, because we have been working for a long time on seeds, and we were very aware of all the challenges that we were facing, and also we had good contacts and we know a lot of people. So we proposed to work with seeds within this global project. So to tell you a little bit more specifically what is Bioleft, I will start by this very general question that for a lot of you are probably obvious, but maybe not for all of you. Why seeds? What are the problems that we are facing? And what is so important and so urgent to do something in Argentina, but also more at a global scale. Then I will talk a little bit about the specificities of the Argentinian case, because it's very different to other developing countries, as you might suspect. Argentina is an agricultural country that exports mostly agricultural commodities, so it has a lot of particularities when we working with these kind of projects. Also, then I will talk about the specific tools that we have developed and how much we have moved in the process of this co-construction with local stakeholders of these tools, and also in the development of the network of this initiative. And finally, we'll talk about the challenges and the next steps that we need to do to move on. So, why seeds? Well, as everybody knows, seeds are crucial because they are the main input to food production. This, I suppose everybody knows, but probably less people know, not here, but in general, that the seeds are also key sources of, seeds contain key information for the development of new seeds. So the access to existing information contained in seeds is crucial for the development of new seeds. And so by restricting access to the existing information contained in seeds, you are threatening the possibilities of development and innovation of new seeds. And innovation in seeds is crucial not only as a luxury, but it's needed because innovation and the new development of seeds contain characteristics that allow farmers to face key problems like diseases, climate change, etc., that are very important for food production. So that's why the access to seeds is very important. Historically, the improvement and development of seeds was done by farmers, and the characteristics was always the free exchange of these seeds, and therefore the information contained in seeds. Early last century, because of advances in knowledge, some scientific knowledge was started to be applied to the development of seeds, and so professionals and some firms enter also and work together with farmers in a collaborative way to develop seeds. So even though during the last century we have these firms and professionals started to work to develop seeds, still the free exchange was always the characteristics for the development of seeds. But the things changed drastically the last 30 years with advances in molecular biology and the development of new possibilities to improve seeds that open the space for new kind of developments. The most known is the genetic engineering, but there are others. A lot of people talk about a revolution and the new possibilities opened by these new technologies, which I'm not going to discuss here. What I'm going to discuss here is one of the main things that were associated to these new technologies, that is the possibility to patent, because before it was never possible to patent new seeds, and so on new developments. But when companies started to use genetic engineering, they started to claim novelty and the possibility to patent. And so this changed completely the logic of the system of improvement of seeds. And one of the main changes, beyond the discussion about whether patents are not justified, which is a whole discussion that is incredible because some cases are really incredible of things that are being patented, but beyond this discussion, one of the main consequences of this process was the process of concentration that this market started to experience. Just to give an indication, in the mid-90s, the 9 largest firms explained 13% of global sales. in 2017, 6 leading firms explained more than 60. And this is, as you probably all know, getting worse and worse. And we are talking only about genetic engineering seeds or seeds that have genetic engineered constructs. It's more than 90%. And so this obviously has a lot of consequences. I mean, oh, sorry. Oh, back.
I think you pointed towards the...
No, I will do it like that. Maybe easier. So, everybody knows from the manual, and I think there is not a lot of discussion of all the problems associated to concentrations in markets in general, problems of economic problems, of overprice, innovations, development, sustainability. But and also in the case of seed, we already having some evidence of this and the consequences of this process. That is the reduction in the number of independent seed companies. In some countries is alarming. The scope of action of public organisms that work on seeds, the ability to improve seeds by farmers, prices that are increasing, reduction in the availability of seeds, but also neglected complete niches in the market which are neglected by the current system. And so all these issues are threatening the major things that are important for the food system in general, which is the autonomy and sustainability of agriculture, food security, and of course all economic, social, and cultural diversity. So that's what's happening at the global scale related to seeds. I always like to show some articles that were written in The Economist discussing these issues, because this is not famous for discussing these kind of issues. It's a liberal newspaper. So when I found in The Economist that they were concerned about what is happening in the seed market and the kind of things that were written, I think it's a clear indication that this is go beyond. It doesn't matter where you come from. This is something that is really alarming. So in Argentina, we have two things that are interesting when we started to work with this. One is still intellectual property rights are not so strict, and in the rest of the, as in the major countries like USA, Australia, or other agricultural countries. But we are now moving towards these more stricter forms of property right. Actually, now the government is discussing a new seed law and is trying to move in the direction of a stricter property rights, without any discussion or any consensus or anything like that. But still have UPOV 78, which is a weak form of property right that allows the exchange and the use of the information contained in seeds to develop new seeds. Also, we have a long tradition of breeding, because Argentina is an agricultural country. So farmers, private companies, and public institutions have a lot of capabilities in breeding. And so, just to show some examples, this is the information about the soya seeds, and these are the rate of registration of new varieties. And this is the share of one of the major Argentinian firms that is called Don Mario, that is the main provider of seeds in Argentina, of soya seeds. Argentina exports mostly soya. So this is a very important market, and it's still dominated by a domestic firm, that is Don Mario. This is very unusual compared to other countries, actually. And this is information about Brazil, and this the same firm actually not only explained mostly of Argentinian seed market, but also Brazil. In the last 10 years, this company has captured all the soya, or 60% of the soya seed market in Brazil. So that's something very unusual and interesting. And these companies grow and develop it with UPOV 78, so with a kind of open source system of seeds. These are the rate of registrations of new seeds in general. So you have here foreign companies, local. So if we take all the seeds, new development of seeds in Argentina, this is private and this is foreign. So this is compared to other countries, as unusual. This is public institutions. But what we are seeing here, and we are concern, and that the share of the public sector is decreasing. And the public sector is the one that is providing seeds for all niches that are not covered by the market. So this is something that is worrying. So in this context is that we started to think about the importance of encouraging and supporting a system, an alternative system for the development of seeds that take advantage of the capabilities that the country has and the institutional developments that we have, and that it comes on time to stop what we see as what is going to happen very soon in Argentina if we don't do something that is the complete privatization of the system. So this is my Bioleft. So the main goals of Bioleft is support an alternative model of cities improvement, open and collaborative, and an extended work network of researchers, breeders, farmers, and civil servants working for the freedom of seeds. When we talk about freedom of seeds, we are talking about access to seeds for the development and registration of new seeds. It doesn't mean necessarily free as that you don't have to pay for it. That's different. So it's an open and collaborative innovation system for seeds. And basically it started with the development of three, I would say mostly two main tools. This is something about process. I'm not going to talk too much about that. So it has a legal tool. It started originally only with a legal tool, but then we are actually now working more on this kind, we call it technological tool. So the legal tool is a transfer agreement, material transfer agreement or contract or license to transfer seeds that requires that the ones that receive the seeds cannot close it or restrict access to seeds for the development of new seeds. And it has this viral clause that what it does is that make that when the order against transfer the seeds includes the same clause. So this is not different to what is being used in other areas like the open source in software, but we are thinking about it in the case of seeds, which is not exactly the same. No, the seeds are different, but also the institutions, the actors, everything, you have to really think it through if you're going to use it on seeds. So that's what we have been doing for 1 year or 2 years or 3 in Argentina. What is specific about Argentina compared to the initiatives in other countries, there are a few across like India, Germany, Austria, USA, there are 6 or 7 other initiatives, but all of them very early stages, not fully developed. So we are talking with each other, but each one is kind of dealing with a very different problem. So, but we have some common approach. But what is different in Argentina is that we have been working on different licenses that are useful for local breeders that work in public institutions that have restrictions about how to transfer their material. And so we have been trying to adapt the contract so it can be used by them because they have the aim to reach farmers and that the seeds reach the farmers, but they have restrictions to transfer the seeds. They need sometimes to give exclusive rights of multiplication to certain actors, otherwise they will not multiply the seed. And so we have been working on different possibilities of this agreement, that it doesn't go against our original idea, but it can work with different kind of breeders. So the idea of this open source system is that if it's used enough, it will create a germplasm that is free to circulate, but is protected from hard IPR. So it's kind of protected commons. That's the logic behind. But what is more interesting, we thought in the last year, is the other tool that we developed. That it began because we were concerned with the seeds that were not registered in the system. We thought, well, how is this work? How a license can work if the seed is not registered? And there are a lot of seeds that are used by farmers that are not registered, and they cannot be registered for a lot of reasons, like, for example, quinoa. And so we thought, what we do with that? So we started to think about a platform that registers transactions and characteristics of these seeds, so we have documentation of the existence of these seeds and the transactions, and it could eventually serve in future disputes. But then we realized that by registering this information, we could create very valuable information for breeders. And that was very good that we were working already with breeders in the project, because they told us, well, one of the problems we have is that we release seeds and we never are able to collect good information about how these seeds perform in different environments. And actually also because I work with companies for a long time, I realized that one of the main assets of these seed companies that were so successful in Argentina was not the lab, the things that I studied innovation for a long time, I suppose, but the testing networks that they had. They have massive testing networks working across different contexts, environments, even countries. And I was surprised. I didn't expect that. And I realized that was it made the difference between the good and the bad firms. So then, if we were able to create an information system that serves breeders that enter the system, but also farmers that are using the seeds, and it's useful to exchange all this rich and valuable information, then we were creating a tool that will support participatory breeding in a way that will also be very attractive for breeders. Because a lot of the breeders in Argentina are still not concerned with patents. It's not a reality for them. They see it as something that is not a problem now. They can see it in the future, and so they are very attracted about this tool. And related to that is that we are working, and we have been working with them for the last months, developing this that is called field notes. I don't know exactly how to translate to English, but it's information about performance of seeds. It's not trivial, it's very difficult to do that. And we are working with the breeders because it's very specific. It has to be a kind of control experiment. We are giving the first steps, but this needs to be much more developed if it's going to work well. So this is the platform that we are developing. We have a prototype already. It's there. We have started to use it with some transfers, but it needs to be obviously improved. So, in summarizing, Bioleft, what is proposing is the most efficient and sustainable and democratic model to improve seeds. One of the interesting, compared to other, that we have in Argentina a lot of resistance to this process, as you can imagine. But this is, what we think is interesting is that it's offensive rather than defensive. It was trying to create an alternative that could potentially really create a system that competes with the one proposed by the private companies. And that is more open, democratic, and could serve different kind of needs of the agricultural system. So where are we now? We are expanded the network. As I said, we are working with several farmer associations. We are getting a lot of interest from, for example, the organic movement, the agroecological movement, but also associations of family farmers and the indigenous associations that are working in agriculture. All of them are now part of our network. What is the challenge for us now? All that is related to the governance. Because they start to claim they want to be part of the decisions. As I say, this started as a project, but now, as a research project, but now it's something different, and we are in the middle of thinking what will be the best way to manage the network and what we are creating to involve the people, but also to not make it crazy for us at the moment that we still need to give some key steps. We have a beta version of the platform. As I show, we have a website. We have a video that I can show you. I have 2 minutes. Let me see if it works. Should work.
In the world we live, the rules are constantly changing. Today, in some countries, in the world we live, the rules are constantly changing. Different forms of life. Today, in some countries, a seed, for example, or a country, others can own different forms of life. But develop a seed, for example, and so restrict others' access to it. And in turn, in the world we live, the rules are constantly changing. Today, in some countries, a person or a company can own different forms of life. A seed, for example, and so restrict others' access to it, and in turn, the development of new seeds. The most dangerous form of appropriation is with patents, because they can be used to restrict all forms of access. Seeds are a source of food, but also information for the development of new seeds. With the ability to patent seeds, we put at risk the exchange of knowledge contained in seeds, independent research, and seed improvement carried out by small farmers. Today, what is in danger is not only food sovereignty, but also biodiversity and the survival of agriculture itself. What can we do to protect ourselves and to protect nature? An interdisciplinary team of researchers have devised an open source system for seeds, which we call Bioleft, a system of access and use that permits the continuous circulation of germplasm and its components, free of all restrictions, for the development and registration of new seed varieties. Using a virtual platform, all transactions, seeds, and user data will be recorded. With a wide network of users, free circulation of knowledge, access to diversity, and collective intelligence, it will be possible to compete with the system promoted by large companies that is leading to the loss of variety and autonomy. In other sectors, like software, this is already happening. It's the moment to do so with seeds, the fourth too late. Bioleft is open innovation from the grassroots, because we believe that another model is possible.
So this is just to show the kind of things we're doing to kind of show the idea. I started to talk and debate with different people. The idea, people that is more or less familiar with the topic and with the subject. And also because we are happy that we interacted with filmmakers and people that do drawing, and in interacting with them, we're learning a lot about how to discuss these issues with people that is completely out of our world, and it's very interesting. Has been very interesting for us. So, also in terms of what we have released 6 varieties. New varieties have been released with this material transfer agreement because some of the breeders that are very committed to the project have put them into the system. So at the moment it's more a political. But it has been released to the farmer associations of farmers, and they are planting them, and we are following up the process so they start to register information related to the seeds. So it's all there happening. But this is also, we are very excited about that. And we are having a huge, something that surprised us really last year is the impact and the interest that this is creating, not only for people that one would expect, but also from mainstream actors. We got, this is a horrible photographs. This is one of the major newspapers in Argentina, and it's a kind of conservative newspaper. It's not the left-wing newspaper, and they choose Bioleft and put it as one of the innovations of the year. So this kind of, and then, well, a lot of attention. We are all the time being called by newspapers, journalists, but also activists, farmers. It's really attracting a lot of attention to the point that we say, what's happening? And we realize that we think that it's creating a kind of umbrella for a lot of people that is interested about the topic and that want to do something, don't really understand what it is, and so we start discuss a lot. And it's interesting because it might end up being something different to what we originally thought it will be. That is this open source license. It's becoming several things. For example, one of the things they asked us very recently is that we ask the National Institute of Seeds to allow us to register new seeds. Because one of the problems that farmers are facing is that they are improving seeds, but in Argentina, the law doesn't allow them to sell these new seeds, like in other countries. Not in all the countries, but Argentina is like that. So some of these farmers said, well, we are illegal at the moment, and we don't want to be. And these are, for example, farmers from the organic movement, that they are improving seeds. They want to circulate it more openly. They are doing it in a kind of secret way, and they ask us, can we do this within Bioleft? And we, well, maybe. And so we went and talked to the National Institute of Seeds, and they say yes. They were very happy. They understood the proposal. So we start now a dialogue with them. And in this way, we realize that when we are working with the farmers and with the activists and with the breeders, we might be changing the way we thought the project originally, and that's okay. And I always say I will probably step out at some point because this is not my. I'm still a researcher, and this takes a lot of time. It's really, really demanding, and it's becoming more and more demanding when more and more people is getting involved and interested. The government also has called us and want to collaborate, parts of the government. Other parts of the government are already saying, oh, careful, they feel threatened, especially the breeders that are already working with large multinationals. They have complete labs and scientific systems that are developing just the earlier stages of technology that are needed for companies to end up developing cultivars. So we are in conversations with the government, but we're not very sure whether we want to, at this stage, collaborate with them or no. And we have, of course, because the project that we had with STEP is coming to the end. One of the big challenges we have is to carry on, to get more funding to carry on, because what is key for the project to really move on is that we do field testings, because we need to really work with some of the seeds that have been released, follow up with the farmers, register the information. This needs to be done still by us. It's not going to happen magically. When we have some of the workshops with the farmers, we realize some of them in the north don't even have access to internet. So we are working now with the developers of the platform to do it in a version for the telephone. And so, and it's completely different. They already told us, oh, okay, but this is going to be more expensive. So we are now exploring alternative sources of funding, and we realize that we need to now apply to different kind of fundings, to fundings that are more for innovation projects, and it's a new business for us. So we are doing it at the moment. In terms of challenges, one big challenge we have is a lot of the breeders from public institutions that are very interested in the project. There is a generation of breeders that are especially interested because they have been doing breeding for a long time. They are now accused of working with farms. They don't feel that they do that, but because the National Institution of Agriculture, is INTA, as an institution, is doing it. They're being accused of that, and so they feel like this could be the place to really work with a different logic. But they have the restriction of all the contractual system of the institution. INTA is one of the largest science and technology institutions in Argentina, has very bureaucratic. So we are discussing with them this specific issue. But it's not easy, Some of them don't like us at all. I have been invited to go to give seminars 3 times, and then they cancel in the last minute. And they don't give any explanation. And so obviously there is a lot of tension within the institution about the... well, as I say, another challenge for us is they ask us, what are you? Are you an NGO? Are you what are you? And at the moment we don't know. So we are looking at possibilities. And also, some people want that you tell them something very certain and a definition, very clear definition, and some other people prefer not to because they want to be part. And so it's a kind of tension permanently about that. Well, obviously, we are in a very stressing time in Argentina and Latin America. Our idea is to start to work more actively with other partners in Brazil and Chile. We have a lot of friends, but it's not an easy time in the region. We went to Mexico 2 or 3 months ago. They were very, very interested. We work with the other hub that is within the STEP Center, Lakshmi, some of you know them, and they became very, very interested, and now we are writing a proposal that to do the same in Mexico next year. That's something that is going to happen the next 2 months. It's not a lot of funding, but it's enough to travel and to support the beginning of this. In Mexico, it attracted a lot of attention. And it's not surprising because of the situation of the country. So that's it, I think. This is more the academic part. Probably nobody cares, but we care. But what we have learned, well, it depends on what I present. Some people don't really, it's not interesting. Yes, so some, because the reality is the last year I have been so much working into the project that I haven't written almost anything more academic on that, just reports or blogs or things like that, but also because this is not my field actually. So some of the learnings we have done within the project is the importance of innovation. Of course, how we define innovation is crucial, but this idea of something new, something that inspires people, we realize that's very important when we are thinking about transformation, because all these people has been working for a long time on the same issue, and the only difference that we are bringing is something that is inspiring, that is new, that they think might work even if it doesn't, but it's enough to make everybody to want to be part of. And so that, I think, is something is interesting, and we need to think more about that. We are giving it different names, but we don't know. Then we used during the project this transformation lab idea, which for us was useful because I'm a good student. So they told me, you have to use transformation labs, and for me, so I have to do an innovation. If it's a lab, it's to develop an innovation. And with this in mind is that we put a lot of emphasis on trying to develop something that was new. But then we realized that it's very different to what we thought at the beginning. It's not like one event or two events. It's a process. It's a process of meeting even individually with people, with groups, with one another, and it's very strategic. You need to all the time be very clear about what is the objective, whether it's worth or not to meet these people. It's not kind of all together, or we're going to, even people that agree with us. We started with grain, for example, at the beginning of the project, and they were very resistant. We had to stop the meeting, and we are now starting to talk to them again, and they will listen to us. But at the beginning, they didn't want any form of property right. For them was a no. So it's interesting the T-Lab as a general idea, but then we need to learn a lot more about the specific processes that involve this idea of transformation lab or social lab or whatever. Then we use, again, in the project, we use this idea of co-design, which is very interesting. And again, I'm a good student, so I started to do it from the beginning. But I realized that maybe something like, for us, it's something like co-own what is important now. People are starting to appropriate the idea and to work it. I realized that some of my key partners, they don't necessarily agree with me or see it in the same way, and we still work together, and it's fine. And sometimes some of the students look at me like, why are you leaving this person to say, and it's okay, I'm okay. If he thinks that is what is Bioleft, I'm okay with that. Of course, with a general shared understanding, and I know we have it. But then, the details and the way we move on, each one, depending on the background and where it's situated and the interest that they have, it has a different take. And then, related to what I said before, this issue of alignment and non-alignment that we started to discuss in the project at the beginning, first I brought this idea of non-alignment, and I end up the project saying that really you need some kind of alignment to, at least to begin with, and make things to move. Just a few things, but we need to think much more about this in the future, the kind of more implications. Thank you very much.